Honestly, the story of how we started isn't some Hollywood blockbuster. No epic drum roll, no thundering chase. It's more like, shh, did you hear that? Maybe something's crawling nearby. Picture this. 4.5 million years ago, deep in the Pliocene forests of Africa, our ancestors were basically Lunchables for every sharp-toothed monster out there. Tiny, kind of helpless, always looking over their shoulder. If there was a motto, it was eat fast, hide faster. Forget heroics, this is the real survival show, and our star is Ardipithecus, a scrappy little hominin who spent pretty much every waking moment dodging danger. All that running, hiding, and desperate foraging, that's the stuff that over eons pushed our line towards something wild, us. Okay, picture this for a second. You're maybe 4 feet tall, squished into the bushes with your buddies, and suddenly, bam, the whole world goes dark. But nope, not a rain cloud. It's some gigantic predator, just casually dragging its dinner into the open. You don't move, you barely breathe, and you're definitely not planning some heroic ambush. You're just hoping to blend in and not die today. The prize? A dead animal still juicy with calories you desperately need. Except, you know, getting close means you might end up as dessert. That was the vibe. Day in and day out, 4.4 million years back. Scavenging leftovers, snatching whatever you could before something bigger spotted you. The line between lunch and being lunch? Razor thin. Let's get acquainted with Ardipithecus ramidus Ardi, if you want to keep things casual. This isn't some distant fuzzy ancestor either. She's practically a celebrity in fossil circles. Dug up in Ethiopia, Ardi was living in a patchwork landscape. Some woods, some grassy bits, kind of a prehistoric fixer-upper. She was about as tall as a 5th grader, but her body was all mixed signals. Sure, her hips say I can walk upright, but her long curling fingers and super handy big toe totally scream tree life. Frankly, the ground was where nightmares lived. Giant hyenas, saber-toothed murder cats, crocodiles the size of minivans. Fun times, right? So what did Ardi chow down on? Let us toss out those old-school ideas of man the hunter. We were not there yet, not even close. Turns out, Ardipithecus wasn't out chasing mammoths or anything dramatic. Her teeth spilled the beans. She was an opportunist. Not quite tough enough for cracking the really hard stuff, but definitely eating more than just soft fruit. Nuts, berries, bugs, maybe a lizard or two if she could grab one without getting eaten herself. Sometimes, if the coast was clear, she might nibble on some leftover meat from the real killer's table. Mostly, though, she's foraging, hustling, just trying to get by. Survivors, not conquerors, which, honestly, sounds way more stressful than any Netflix survival show. Imagine this. For ages, our ancestors just did their thing, hanging out in the woods, living that leafy life. Chill, right? But nature had other plans, as usual. Things started drying up, forests shrunk, and grasslands spread like a bad rumor. For tree huggers like Ardipithecus, this was basically a cosmic eviction notice. And honestly, there was no polite way out. The planet was like, adapt or you're toast. So out onto the savannah they went, into the open where trees were more of a fond memory than an escape route. Predators? Oh, they leveled up. Our ancestors were suddenly out in the open, feeling like the world's worst game of hide and seek. But plot twist, with the new territory came new chances. Giant herds of grazers roamed the grasslands, and where you've got grazers, you've got leftovers. Courtesy of the real badasses, the apex predators. Now here's where things get spicy. For years, the experts assumed only our own crew, the genus Homo, got clever enough to use tools. Nope, surprise. At a spot called Lomekwi 3 in Kenya, archaeologists dug up stone tools that are 3.3 million years old. That's what, 700,000 years older than any other tools we'd found. And get this, even older than any known Homo fossils. Mind blown. So who actually made these chunky prehistoric gadgets? Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. Maybe Australopithecus afarensis, yep, Lucy's gang, or maybe Kenyanthropus platyops. The Lomekwian tools weren't exactly sleek. Think less Swiss Army knife, more hit rock with other rock and hope for the best. They weren't hunting with these things. Nah, they were breaking stuff open, cracking nuts. Could be. But the real jackpot? Smashing bones to get to that glorious fatty marrow inside, nature's original energy bar. Meanwhile, over in Ethiopia at Dakika, researchers found animal bones from 3.4 million years ago, sporting what looked like cut and percussion marks. Some say those marks are from sharp stones. Others argue it was just a bunch of animals trampling around. Classic science drama. But if those are tool marks, it means our ancestors weren't taking down big game. They were the original opportunists. Wait for the lions to finish, then swoop in and hack off what's left, busting open bones for that precious marrow. This was the spark, the first flicker of a new way to survive. High risk, yeah, but the reward? Massive. These ancient stories, dug up after millions of years, show just how scrappy and inventive our lineage really is. If you're geeking out over this stuff like I am, hit subscribe and ring that bell. There's so much more wild prehistoric drama to come. Look, this whole from the woods to the savannah thing wasn't some single epic leap. It was more like a soul-crushing slog that lasted for 1,000,000 freaking years. Picture it, a scrappy pack of Ardipithecus lurking at the edge of some sun-blasted grassland, eyeballing a bloody carcass while hyenas pick it clean. Every nerve in their little bodies is probably screaming, "Run!" But here they are weighing the odds, thinking, maybe, just maybe, they'll survive if they're fast or just lucky. Enter the real game changer, teamwork. No way one little ape is walking up to a half-eaten zebra and getting away with it. That's a one-way ticket to becoming lunch for someone else, so they had to work together. One dude keeping watch, another hacking away at the meat with a rock that barely qualifies as a tool, and everyone hoping the original killers don't come back mid-slice. It is not exactly a scene from The Lion King, more like the world's most intense group project, with actual death on the line. Dragging food away from danger. That's a big brain move. Like next-level thinking, you're planning ahead, trusting the others not to screw you over, and basically inventing the concept of dinner to go. All for a shot at the good stuff, juicy marrow and fatty scraps, aka the original superfoods. That switch up in diet? Total game changer. Brains are calorie hogs. Try growing one on salad. Good luck. But with meat and marrow, suddenly there's enough energy to power more brain cells. Around 2.5 million years ago, you start seeing these clever little weirdos called Homo habilis. Bigger brains, fancier tools, the older ones set if you want to get technical, sharper rocks. Finally, some real progress. It's not some random coincidence. Getting better at snagging meat made bigger brains useful. Bigger brains meant better tools and trickier teamwork, which meant more meat and, well, you get the idea. It's like the original positive feedback loop, just with more bone smashing and less PowerPoint. By about 2 million years ago, these folks aren't just scavengers anymore. They're taking down smaller animals themselves. That's a big deal. Honestly, if you think the story of humans eating meat is all macho glory and domination, you're missing the point. It's a saga that starts in terror. Picture some jittery little proto-human, barely clinging to life, getting booted out of the trees and onto the nightmare plains. Desperation sets in. That S when someone gets the wild idea to grab a rock and bash open a bone for the marrow inside. That wasn't a weapon. It was a skeleton key, literally. A way to access calories nobody else could reach, a ticket to the next level. It took guts and probably a lot of panicked screaming, but that's how it started. Scavenging wasn't glamorous, but it flipped the script on what was possible. It rewired our bodies, changed the way we lived, and set the stage for our ridiculous, oversized brains. So yeah, before spears and fire and all that jazz, there was just a scared, hungry ape, a busted-up stone, and the raw determination to survive. That's where the whole human story really kicks off. In the dirt, fueled by hunger, a little bit of luck, and a whole lot of guts.